Mark Rogers TV back with you just 3 days away from the first college football playoff national championship. Of course, Oregon taking on Ohio State. We're joined by Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews to break it down for us. Brett, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about the histories of these two football programs because Oregon's the flash and dash. They're the newcomer to the elite of college football. Sure, they've been a nice program for about 20 years. Mike Bellotti got it started to a certain extent in the 90s, but really over the last 5 or 6 years, going to the national championship game, perennially a top 5 team versus the traditional power, Ohio State, along Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama, USC, right at the Pantheon. So kind of size that up from a historical perspective for us.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me on, Mark. Monday night's going to be special for the sport. First time ever, the playoff championship. It's definitely a blue bloods versus new bloods kind of feel. Ohio State, all-time winning program, top 5 in wins. They have 7 recognized national titles with 7 Heisman winners. So they're used to, the national stage and championship stage. Meanwhile, Oregon's a newer program in terms of success, but they have been winning. Last 10 years are the winningest program in Division I. Last 5 years are also the winningest. But can they get to that hurdle? Can they finally break through? They finally got their first Heisman winner. Can he lead them to their first national title? We'll see Monday night.
Okay, so with Oregon coming off a 59-20 rout of Florida State, a game that was much debated in regards to is Florida State going to continue to have issues and are those going to be exposed, which they were. Oregon really looked extremely impressive. What are your takeaways from what you saw in Pasadena?
So we expected Oregon to win. We didn't expect such a blowout, though. Florida State's been close at halftime. About 6 or 7 times they were tied or trailed at halftime, but they were resilient in the second halves of these games. Jameis Winston has been resilient all season. In the Rose Bowl there, it was 20-11 at half. It could have been 20-14 within a score. So Florida State had them where they wanted, but we finally saw Florida State unravel before our eyes. Credit, Oregon's defense for forcing turnovers. They're optimistic. And credit Mariota for outclassing Winston in a battle of Heisman winners.
Brett, I had 2 concerns for Ohio State going into the Sugar Bowl. It was basically Cardale Jones, so just like everybody else, that major concern that even though he performed so well and admirably against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, everything went his way from the first snap of the ball game. He played in front of the sticks. He played in front of the score. How would he react to game adversity in terms of the game situation, down a couple scores, and how would he react to different coverages, complex coverages, pass rush, those sorts of things against the likes of Alabama? He obviously passed the test. What are your additional takes from the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, that's a good point. Going in, we were kind of hesitant about, Cardale Jones. We saw him in the 59-0 drubbing in Wisconsin. Like you said, wasn't really tested in critical game situations. Passed this test with flying colors. Down 21-6. They were also resilient in their own way, taking back the lead. I mean, Alabama's a team that they don't beat themselves. They don't, you have to force turnovers, and they did just that. The pick 6 by Steve Miller really changed the game and, blew it open. But as for Cardale Jones, just his game management, his decision-making, he's very efficient with the ball. I'm just blown away by his first 2 starts, given the magnitude of the 2 events.
Brett Ciancia joins us from Pick Six Previews. Brett, I keep getting the question all week, how is Ohio State going to hang with Oregon? That just seems to be the question. I think Ohio State matches in regards to speed. I think we've seen it time and time again over the last 5 years where Oregon is considered the quickest team in college football out on the edge in space. They take advantage of most teams when they face the likes of an Ohio State in the Rose Bowl about 5 years ago, LSU in a season opener, Auburn, even Stanford, despite that disadvantage in speed. When they play NFL players on defense, the speed situation is reduced, and then they have to face a little bit of muscle. Just your thoughts about that speed-power stereotype and if it still holds true.
I think it does hold true still. The Big Ten gets the rap for having the physical aspect but not the speed. 3 years ago, when Urban Meyer took over, he envisioned turning Ohio State into an SEC program. And 3 years later, 3 recruiting classes later, he's done just that. The speed overall, offense and defensively, is right up there with the SEC. So they're going to be matched speed-wise by Ohio State. Some star players on defense, Darren Lee, We saw him last week in the Sugar Bowl just blow up the Alabama O-line time and time again. So sideline to sideline, Ohio State matches them speed-wise. And I do like the coaching matchup as well. So.
Yeah, let's talk about the coaches. Urban Meyer kind of taking a second-place finish to Nick Saban nationally in regards to polls in terms of who's the best coach in college football. It was pretty much College Football Nation would typically say Saban's number one, Myers two. Now it's a little bit better of a discussion. He has proven himself time and time again in pressure, big stage situations. I think we've lost Brett, unfortunately. Hopefully we can get him back. Just setting up the Urban Meyer versus Mark Helfrich. Helfrich, of course, a bit more of an unknown, and we may actually have to wrap things up, unfortunately. That was Brett Ciancia, Pick 6 Previews. So check him out there. It's Pick 6 Previews, so they also have sites designated for each conference, Big 10, Pac-12, SEC, Big 12 on down the line for your enjoyment. Hey, Brett, we got you back here?
Sorry about that. Disconnected.
No issues there. Let's talk about the coaching matchup. Urban Meyer proving it on the big stage time and time again. Mark Helfrich, a little bit more of an unknown commodity. There still may be a view that Chip Kelly built this program and he's just kind of riding it out at this point.
I wouldn't go to that extreme. I mean, Helfrich was the offensive coordinator under Chip Kelly, so he's gotten it to where it is. Mariota has been a part of the Chip Kelly era and the Helfrich era, so that's been a constant. Going back to that Saban-Meyer debate, I mean, it's now 2-2 head-to-head. They each have 2 rings, and Urban Meyer is trying to join Saban as being the second to win 2 BCS titles at 2 different schools. So definitely experience on the championship stage. Meanwhile, Helfrich, this is his first national title appearance, first BCS Bowl appearance as the head man. So we'll see how he handles the limelight here, national title game.
Good stuff. Brent Ciancia of Pick 6 Previews joins us. Brett, before we let you go, don't want to uncover anything that you haven't released publicly in regards to a prediction for this game. So if you haven't quite decided, we can let it go. But if you've made a pick for this one, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we're releasing our preview today, actually, in a couple hours. I'm going with Ohio State 41, Oregon 36. It's going to be a high-scoring affair, kind of like the Sugar Bowl we just saw. I really like Cardale Jones and what he's doing. I like Urban Meyer's coaching approach. I'm interested to see, though, how Meyer's going to handle this short turnaround from the Sugar Bowl, trying to prep for this Oregon, this up-tempo attack. When it comes down to it, though, I like what's going on at Ohio State. The loss of Ifo Ekpe-Alamu, Alabama's All-American cornerback, is going to be tough because Cardale Jones has a widespread array of playmakers around him. Devin Smith, Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield. So I think that's going to be a major loss. And in the end, I think Ohio State's going to be hoisting their second crystal ball since 2002.
Yeah, and we're hearing that Dontre Wilson may be back in the mix possibly for the Buckeyes as well. Brett, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate the information and the insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.